Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Josh Selo, Executive Director of West Valley Community Services. It's so wonderful to see the names of so many volunteers and friends of West Valley Community Services in our attendee list. We are looking forward to sharing with you details of how we're responding to COVID-19 here at West Valley Community Services. But first, I'd like to turn it over to our board chair, Monica Chandra, to kick us off. Monica?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our WVCS online COVID response gathering. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. My name is Monica Chandra, and I'm the board chair here at West Valley Community Services. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that I know that this is a difficult time for a lot of people, and our heart goes out to all the families who have been affected by or have lost their loved ones due to COVID-19. So today we're going to talk about the impact of COVID on the WVCS community. I mean, needless to say, these are really challenging times for all of us, but for particularly the low income and homeless people who are already struggling to make ends meet. And as job losses are creating even more uncertainty and food insecurity, our goal is to actively prevent evictions and make sure everyone has access to fresh and nutritious food. As an essential service, our doors remain open, but our current day-to-day looks really different from what it used to. Josh is going to speak about this more in detail, but due to our shelter-in-place orders, many of our volunteers and staff are unable to be in the office in person. So our case managers are currently working with clients through Zoom or phone calls. We've had to postpone or restyle important events like our annual volunteer appreciation dinner and our biggest fundraiser of the year, Chefs of Compassion. We're still trying to envision what the fall is going to look like and how we're going to pivot our annual back to school program to continue to meet the needs of our children in the community. We've continued to operate through all these challenges, and we're helping more and more clients every day. We've actually had a lot of new clients come in, and Josh is going to speak about that in a minute. I'm incredibly proud to share that our WVCS team has really come together to work through all of these challenges with enthusiasm and flexibility and resilience, especially as things change on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis. With the shelter-in-place orders that are currently extended through the end of May, we're going to see an even greater need in the coming weeks and months. We're so grateful to our entire community, especially our volunteers, our donors, and our supporters. It's you who make it possible for us to serve the West Valley all year long. And I'm just blown away by our community's compassion and generosity during this crisis. I mean, because of you, WVCS has really been able to address the call and step up to fight the increased hunger and housing insecurity that we're facing because of this crisis. So now I'm going to turn it over to Josh Selo, our Executive Director, to share some more details regarding our work during this crisis. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Monica. Welcome, everyone. We are so grateful to have you all here today. As I said before, we see the names of so many of our volunteers, our partners, our donors, our friends with us this morning to learn a little bit about how we're responding here at West Valley Community Services to the growing need for help among low-income and homeless individuals and families in the West Valley. Before we get started, just a couple of bits of housekeeping. First of all, as Maria indicated, you are all currently on mute, but we want your questions. So please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen if you have questions you'd like to share with us, and we'll answer them either during the course of today's presentation or at the end during the question and answer session. You can also follow up with us today afterwards by emailing development@wvcommunityservices.org, and our Director of Development and Communications, Kohinoor Chakravarti, will follow up with you. You'll also all be receiving a survey after today's webinar to provide feedback for us as to what worked and what we could do better. If there's other information you'd like to have, it's important to us because so many of you are making this work possible that we provide immediate feedback about how your support is changing the lives of people most severely impacted by COVID-19. So please share your thoughts with us. Let us know how we're doing, what information you'd like, and so you'll see that after today's program. So why are we doing this? So the first thing is, we have been really just so touched by the incredible outpouring of love from our volunteers and our donors to support the needs of our clients. And we felt it was incumbent upon us to invite all of our community to find out more about what we're doing, what they're making possible. So that really was the first and most important purpose for today's program, to let you know what's going on and how your support is making it possible. We also know we have a lot of our volunteers on the line today who can't be here. So we wanted to make sure they knew that while we miss them so much, and we do, we miss all of you so much, we are shouldering on, counting down the days, hopefully, till you can come back and join us again. But so many of you give your heart and your soul to West Valley Community Services, and it's important for you to know that we're continuing in your name during this horrible pandemic that's affecting our community. Especially at this time of Volunteer Appreciation Month, when we can't spend it physically together with you in person, we want you to know that we just are so grateful for the incredible impact that you make every day on the lives of low-income and homeless people in our community. And while I can't be standing in front of you at Quinlan telling you that, this was the next best thing. So just to start off, when did we start responding to COVID-19 here at West Valley Community Services? So globally, or at least locally here in Silicon Valley, we started hearing more and more about local impacts in February. And so at the end of February, the very last weekend of that month, I had a call with my director team to begin to craft our strategy to respond to COVID-19 and our concerns about its impact both on our clients and on our volunteers, many of whom are over the age of 60 and in some cases at most risk if they develop COVID-19. Shortly thereafter, our managers started meeting for a daily huddle, and we implemented several different changes in our operations, which I will talk about in a little bit. The most important thing for you all to know is that we responded quickly. We responded in line with directions from our county health department and our health officer, Dr. Sarah Cody, and with leadership and guidance from our local elected officials. And we're part of a larger network of social service agencies, and we've been working very closely with them as the safety net for low-income and homeless populations to make sure that we can quickly respond to the evolving needs of the clients that most need our help. As you all probably know, West Valley Community Services is an essential business, so we have been in operation during the entire time. We are down to our two core services currently. That is food distribution through our pantry, and I'll talk a little bit later about how that has evolved a little bit from what many of you know is our standard way of distributing food, and emergency rental assistance, which has really just skyrocketed in terms of demand. And we've been focusing on those two things. I'll talk to you a little bit also about how the way we deliver that service has changed as well. So what are we seeing? I don't think it will surprise any of you to say what we're seeing on the ground here in the West Valley. We're seeing a significant increase in the need for food assistance. While many people have the ability to go to the supermarket, and while the shelves aren't as full as they have been in the past, there's still food on the shelves. But our clients often don't have the money to stock up their pantry. So we're seeing an increased demand for food among folks, especially among people who've been laid off. And then we're also seeing that increased demand for rental assistance. Many of our clients who are currently employed are working in the service and the gig sector. And so they are some of the jobs that have been shed first. And these are folks often who don't have much in savings in their savings account, if they have an account at all. So they don't have the ability to draw down on savings or even to get a loan to go over this bumpy patch of being without work. We also all know that there aren't a lot of jobs in those sectors available right now. So we're seeing people who are anxious because they don't know if they'll be able to quickly get employment again. And we're also starting to think about what happens if there's an extended lag in return of jobs in the service and gig economy, and people aren't able to get reemployed for an extended period of time, long beyond when the shelter in place is lifted. So layoffs, furloughs, we're seeing an increase in demand from students, both at De Anza College, which you all know is down the street from our office, and West Valley College, and I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing there. But I think it might be instructive for you to see some of the numbers. We do live in Silicon Valley, and we often are driven by data. So let me share with you some of the numbers that we're seeing. So first is we've had a 302% increase year over year in new clients. That's significant for us. And this is only since March 16th. So that doesn't even include the numbers that came in prior to there. And we did have also new clients prior to March 16th during the current fiscal year. We've had a 170% increase in clients per week at the mobile food pantry, which is still making stops at West Valley College, the Moreland School District, and several senior homes in the community. We've delivered 627 bags and or boxes to West Valley College. We've also seen an increase, this is not on the slide, in demand at Moreland School District. We had over 130 people lined up for food at the Moreland School District last week. And we have a new program, which I'll talk about in a little bit, a doorstep grocery drop-off program for seniors and folks with comorbidities that put them at additional risk if they contract COVID-19. And we're currently, through the help of volunteers, delivering 39 seniors every week food on their doorsteps, which you'll see a little bit about in a bit. So that's the food pantry and the food services, one of our two core businesses. The second one is our rental assistance. So we've seen a 220% increase overall in demand for rental assistance year over year. The light blue bar shows you what the numbers were last year for March, April, and May. And the dark blue bar shows you what this year looks like. So remember, we started seeing people get laid off toward the end of February, beginning of March. Now, these are people who may have to come back to us again because they've still been unable to find employment. So it's a significant increase in requests for rental assistance overall. Now, some people may be asking, what about the eviction moratorium? I heard that there was this great eviction moratorium that is keeping people from being evicted from their homes. And let me go on record as saying the eviction moratorium is awesome. And it's exactly what we needed. And I'm so grateful to the leadership in the county and in the local cities for doing that. But I also want to make sure we all understand the eviction moratorium does not erase the need to pay rent. And in most cases, landlords are still expecting clients, folks, to pay rent, back rent, even if they've given people additional time. So our concern is that folks could end up several months behind on rent, even with the eviction moratorium, and that we could see a wave of eviction happen whenever the shelter in place is lifted. So our goal is to help clients maintain their current level, continue to be current on their rent, so that as soon as the shelter in place is lifted, we don't see that happen in the West Valley. And so that's sort of how we're directing our client assistance program. But I think even more than the numbers, even more than the legislation, I think that you really see it in the stories and in the anxiety and stress that we see in the clients. And I just want to share a couple of stories of clients that have come to us for help. So there's Tammy. She has arthritis and other medical issues that put her at greater risk for illness should she contract COVID-19. She still needs to go to the hospital twice a week for tests, so we're taking her to the hospital twice a week, but she's working from home because she's immunocompromised and she's unable to leave her home. There's Raymond. He's a father of two living with his wife and children in the West Valley. He has many years of experience in the corporate world, but he's been laid off from his job. And despite years of experience, he's struggling to find another job in corporate finance and just doesn't have much in savings to support him during this pandemic. There's Roxanne, she's 77 years old, and she's been working for 30 years as a waitress in a cafeteria in the service sector. She would get her hourly wage and then also tips, which helped her keep current on all of her bills. She's never asked for public assistance or nonprofit assistance ever in her entire life. But in February, she started to see that her tips were slowing, and at the beginning of the March, she was laid off from her job. She has very little in savings and is concerned about what happens when the rent is due next month. And then there's Tracy. She's a single mom with 3 children. The youngest of them is 5. She's also a caregiver for her elderly mother, who was working part-time as a nail technician in Santa Clara. She's newly single and had been working 2 jobs, but was laid off with her final paycheck at the beginning of March at the nail salon as a result of the shelter in place. And she doesn't have any money for next month's rent. So really, we can see that COVID-19 impacts people at all ages and stages. Some people who maybe have needed help in the past, but some people who've never asked for help before. And that's really what we're seeing in this pandemic and as part of that increase that I talked about. So that's the clients. What's happening at West Valley? What are we facing? So as most of you who are volunteers know, we're facing a drastically reduced volunteer force, which I'll talk about in a little bit, because volunteering also has to look a lot different in the age of COVID-19, given our social distancing protocols. We have 60% of our staff working remotely, largely on client assistance. Some of that is related to social distancing, but we also have staff who are over the age of 60. We have staff with medical conditions. We have staff who have dependents that they need to be available for. So we've had to adjust how work is done at our office. I'm proud to say we have not needed to lay off or furlough any of our employees. They're all working incredibly hard to serve this growing demand for clients, from the clients. We've had a somewhat uneven supply of food. So those of you who work in our pantry know that we have 2 main sources of food. One is Second Harvest of Silicon Valley, and the other is Grocery Rescue. Grocery Rescue entails picking up food from local grocery stores who are donating it to us to use for our clients. Initially, we had a steep drop off from Costco and other purveyors of food in the Grocery Rescue program because they just didn't have any leftover food. In those first weeks of the pandemic, if you all remember, there wasn't a lot left in the store shelves at all. And we saw that here. As far as Second Harvest goes, because of their increased demand, we've had an inconsistent supply of food from them, and we've had to identify new sources, like our great new partner, Town Kitchen, to identify food. We've also been able to source food from partnerships with the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce and local restaurants in Cupertino, and the Los Gatos Chamber of Commerce and local restaurants in Los Gatos, which has been just incredible. We talked about the increased demand already, and we'll talk about how we're doing that. And then, you know, we've needed to be flexible and pivot as we get new instructions from the health department, as we realize that one way of delivering service wasn't working and we needed to do something else. We've had to be incredibly responsive. And, you know, I've heard this saying a lot. We've had to build the plane while we're flying it, which is really actually what we're doing. And I'm so grateful for our leadership on our staff and our board for the incredibly hard work that they're doing to find new and creative ways to solve the needs and challenges that our clients have. So what does this actually look like? I'm sure that's a question a lot of you have. So first, I mentioned the social distancing protocols. So we are in compliance with the county order to have posted social distancing protocols. It means limited number of volunteers and staff in the building. I'm going to show you some pictures of what our operation looks like. We've completely transformed the lobby. It is no longer a waiting area. We don't have clients coming into the building. We're using it to assemble one of the 2 bags that we provide to clients. So one of the first services we had to change was how we give food to the pantry. And for those of you who were here just before the shelter in place was activated, we had stopped allowing shopping for food, which is really unfortunate. It's one of the things that sets us apart as a nonprofit social service agency with the food pantry, but we realized we couldn't successfully keep people 6 feet apart if we were allowing shopping, given the small footprint that we have. So we're assembling 2 bags every day for clients, a dry bag, which you see being assembled here in the lobby, and a cool bag, which has meats and dairy products, and that's happening in the food pantry. You can also see we have a station set up for clients to check in with a plexiglass screen. We have an employee or a volunteer sitting there to check clients in with a camera to scan IDs, keeping that 6-foot distance between our staff or volunteers and our clients. We also have numbers on the ground that indicate where volunteers or staff can stand when they're assembling. So we can have 2 people in the lobby right now assembling food, 2 people in the food pantry, and just over that, I think 3 to 4 outside, but we've structured our distancing separately outside. A client will check in here at the front doorway, then they'll be radioed over to outside the pantry where clients used to exit, where they'll pick up their bags. They'll be walked to the car by a volunteer. They'll put the bags in the client's trunk, and then the client will leave. We augment what the clients receive from the 2 bags with whatever we receive in addition from Grocery Rescue or from Second Harvest as well. So you can see, you know, we'll give additional bread, additional cool items, whatever we have. Let's see. So you can see more of the bag 1 setup in the lobby. On the left, you'll see what the pickup station looks like for clients as they're coming to get their bags from the volunteers. So here, just to give you an idea, you'll see a video of the long lines outside of our office. Now, this is really unprecedented. Sujatha Venkatraman, our Associate Executive Director, who's been here for over 10 years, has never seen this ever happen before. So on the left, you'll see the video that's right outside of our office. That's a line for people waiting to come in, to check in to get food. You'll also see the photo up the top center. The bottom center and the right, that's Moreland School District last week. So those are folks waiting to pick up food from Moreland. We actually had to do another delivery of food that day to Moreland because we've never had that level of demand. One question you might be having is, do we have enough volunteers? So initially, we were really struggling in those first few weeks after the shelter in place was announced, because most of our volunteers are over 60, as I mentioned, and we asked them no longer to come for their safety. We felt like now was not the right time. And while we were sad to do it, we felt like it was the right choice at the moment. More recently, however, though, we've gotten some new volunteers to come in and, for the interim at least, help out. We can't accommodate a lot of volunteers because of our footprint, really no more than 7 or so a day. People are reaching out to Bobby Bornstein, our manager of volunteer services. Right now, we are operating a list of folks. We have a wait list of people who are interested in volunteering, but we are not currently hurting for volunteers. So, and that's really just because as people who were either furloughed or working from home realized they wanted to give back, they reached out. So we have this new core of folks that I imagine will be with us only until the shelter in place is lifted and some of those folks go back to work. I don't know what we'll do then, and I think we're going to have to be creative. We've also had to hire several temp workers to come in and help us, both with the food pantry, so we have that consistency day to day, but also for rental assistance, which I'll talk about in a little bit how that looks. So just a few more photos. This is another photo of the lobby. In the center, you see where volunteers are coming to help. Actually, down in the bottom center, that's one of our new temps who's helping out here. And you see all the boxes ready for clients to pick up and be assisted to their car by a volunteer. So we're working to maintain those social distancing protocols. We're requiring all of our volunteers and staff to wear gloves, everyone to maintain that distance. and everyone to wear masks. We have been just so grateful at the outpouring of masks that we've received from the community from several different sources. And that's made it possible not only for us to provide masks to staff and to volunteers, but to clients as well who were unable to obtain masks, because we all know that they've been hard to find. And just a few more photos, you can see the number 1 on the floor of people where they stand as they're assembling bags, the bags outside the lobby, and then sort of how the new pantry setup is working for assembling those cold bags. So we also mentioned to you that we are delivering food to seniors. Actually, before I get to that, so we're also receiving from the city of San Jose and through the chambers, which I mentioned, pre-cooked meals to provide to clients. So you can see here, these are pre-cooked meals that are being distributed to folks as they're picking up their groceries as well. So they're getting a nice combination of foods when they come to the food pantry. So this is our new senior food delivery program. We've launched this in the last month. We saw that many of our senior clients were not coming to us and needed food, and we needed to find a way to get it to them. So we have some volunteers here. You can see they're taking bags that have been packed by volunteers in the office. They're walking up to the doorstep of a client that has already signed up to receive the service, and they're leaving it on the doorstep. So that's 2 or 3 bags of groceries. Then they're knocking on the door, ringing the doorbell to make sure the client knows that the food is there. There are cold items in that client and those bags that need to be refrigerated. So we want to make sure people know to pick them up and then walking. Now, if a client doesn't respond, we then follow up with a phone call. Some of our clients don't always hear the door or their doorbell. We want to make sure that they know they can get the food. This has been a wonderful new program that only would have been possible because we've had people reach out to say, I want to volunteer. I really can't do something that's going to require that I be here in person. Is there something you can have me do? And this maintains that social distancing, but provides a much needed service. These are clients who don't want to receive pre-cooked meals. They want groceries, but just can't leave their homes to get them. And we started this off as senior food delivery. We have signed up other folks as well who are not seniors, but who are immunocompromised and really, need the food, but really can't leave their home. I want to show you one more video so you can see what the process looks like for a client who's walking up to our door to get their food. So you're going to see here, we've marked on the ground with marks where clients should stand. It's 6 feet apart, so clients know to maintain that distance. So they stand there as they're waiting. They'll walk up to the entry point. So there's a stanchion there, and then we have a volunteer, a staff member behind a plexiglass screen. They're set up with a computer. We scan their ID so we can make sure we have their information in the system. And then that's the volunteer verifying we have their information. We have hand sanitizer for our clients if they need it while they're waiting in line. And then they're radioed once they're able to go pick up their food. They're released over to the food pickup area by radio. We have staff and volunteers there waiting to provide food. And then the food is loaded onto a cart, as I mentioned, and it's walked over to the client's car and put into the client's car for them. So, let me just bring you back to me. There we go. None of this would be possible, none of it, without the enormous outpouring of generosity that we've received from our community. So donors, new volunteers, and partnerships with Rotary clubs throughout the West Valley, with city offices throughout the West Valley, with corporations, with individuals, all of whom feel so compassionate and compelled to help people who are really struggling. And some of those folks are on the call today. So I want to make sure that you see some of the letters of thanks that we've received from clients who've been impacted by your generosity and your compassion. And I'll read them to you as well. So the first, I'm a hairstylist who has just spent all my savings on the move back home to the San Jose area in December. And although I started working and hardly could make ends meet when this unprecedented event took me and the nation by surprise, I had nowhere to go or ask for help. I had a negative balance on my checking account and just a few $100s for food. I've always been a survivor and been helping others and myself. I have worked nonstop for the past 29 years, but have never been prepared for this. Another client wrote in, my heart of hearts is truly overwhelmed with happiness and thankfulness. You have helped me during this very critical time of financial crisis. I'm slowly working my way back into society because of you all. I'm really working hard at coming back into life again. I do believe you know this. So just wonderful, incredible letters of thanks from our clients, but also as a complement to that, really incredible letters have come in from our supporters. And I want to share those with you. So you can see them up on your screen right now. Just inspiration. We've posted them up in our office so volunteers and staff can see them and feel the love from the community that is being sent our way. And we are most grateful for these notes of love, of caring, and of heart. I would say that they keep us going when we're most stressed and anxious, and we are very grateful for them. So thank you to all of you who've sent in notes and personal information to encourage us and thank us. We're grateful for that as well. So I'm going to pause there briefly, and I want to see if we have any questions before I go on. So we had a question about whether West Valley Community Services is working with earnin.com from one of our listeners. They were featured last night in a city council meeting. We are not currently working with earnin.com, but we are looking into their services to see if they are of interest to our clients. So we'll probably have more information about that in the future. So we had a question about whether there are any cases reported, any COVID-19 cases reported among our staff, clients, or volunteers. I am grateful to say that at this time, there are no cases reported among our staff, clients, or volunteers. We're working hard to maintain those social distancing protocols to ensure that we keep all of our staff, clients, and volunteers safe while they're here. There was a question about the mobile food pantry, and is the mobile food pantry still in operation? Yes, the mobile food pantry is still in operation. We are still going to West Valley College delivering food, although we've coordinated with Second Harvest of Silicon Valley to do a separate drop-off there for students. We have coordinated with West Valley College. We're not sending the food pantry there anymore. They're sending their students to us, so we're serving their students here. I talked about the meal delivery program that we were doing, the food delivery program we're doing at Moreland School District already. And then we've also expanded to a weekly distribution at a senior home in one of the West Valley cities, which is an increased drop-off that we haven't done in the past. So as we have capacity, we've been looking to see how we can get more food out into the community to people who need it. There was a question about the Cupertino Cares program. So we're receiving money, we're receiving food through the Cupertino Cares program coordinated by the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. We're receiving meals quite frequently. We don't have insight into the number of restaurants that are involved in the program. I imagine the Cupertino Chamber would be able to provide details on that. There was a question about dropping off food to the pantry. Absolutely. We are still accepting food into the pantry. We're asking people to wait outside, and we'll send a staff member or a volunteer to come take it from your car. We'll weigh it inside, and we can mail the donation form to you. We also have people who've donated fruit from their trees, and we can certainly take that as well. So yes, we are absolutely still taking food for the pantry from the community. So someone asked about the capital campaign. So many of you may know West Valley Community Services late last year, early this year, launched a capital campaign to do a couple of improvements. And I think, and I'll tell you what those are, I think we've learned even more now because of COVID-19 that these are critical improvements. So we were expanding the footprint of the food pantry to double the size of it, which would allow us to serve more people concurrently in the food pantry. And we were going to be adding 1,000 square feet to the second floor of the building on the back above one of our rooms to provide more flexible space for case management and client programs. And we are going to be building a custom walk-through mobile food pantry to replace our 20-year-old mobile food pantry we're currently using. We are still operating that capital campaign. I'm pleased the budget for the campaign for all those changes was just over $2.1 million. We had received approval from the city of Cupertino to do the changes to our building. And we were planning to do our public launch for the campaign in May. That is not going to happen. We're looking to see if there's a possibility of doing it in the fall, but that will depend upon what happens with the shelter in place and the coronavirus. I'm pleased to say we have reached 75% of our campaign goal in pledged and donated funds, just over $1.6 million. If anyone has more information about the capital, has any more questions about the capital campaign or how they might get involved, please feel free to reach out to me or Konor. I'm happy to send you our case and answer any questions. There was a question related to donating prepared meals. We are not able to take prepared meals at this time. We can take groceries and fruit from people's trees, but we're unable to take prepared meals. I'm sorry. We do take paper bags, and I want to thank our friends in Cupertino. Dave Stearns and Bonnie Stearns have helped make sure that we can get a lot of paper bags. We're using those to distribute food to our clients, and they actually are very hard to find now and have increased in price because all the grocery stores are using them as well. So anyone who has paper bags that is able to donate them, please send them our way. We can absolutely use them. We have a question related to whether our staff is considered essential frontline. Yes, as per the Santa Clara County order, our staff is considered essential frontline staff. And we are in operation. We've posted our social distancing protocols as required by the county, but we continue to operate based on those protocols. Someone asked if we're serving the homeless encampment on Wolf Road. We are serving the homeless encampment. We were serving them before the coronavirus. At this time, we are unable to take folks out, have folks go out into the community, but the community does know that we're here, and we are providing support to those folks. There's a question about whether we take donated masks, handmade masks. Yes, we absolutely take handmade masks. We've had several donations of handmade masks, and we are grateful for them. So please send them our way. I don't know if I answered this question, but there was a question related to De Anza students. Are we helping De Anza students? And yes, we are helping De Anza students. We are not on the campus currently as per the campus. They had asked us not to come on campus at this time, but we are serving De Anza students here at our office. We're also serving West Valley College students at our office if they're unable to receive services when they're available at West Valley College. I'm going to pause there. Please, if you have additional questions, you can continue to send them our way, and I'll answer a few more at the end. So we've gotten a lot of questions from folks about how they can help, and so I want to just share some ways. If you're looking to figure out some ways and that you can help, here's some things to think about. And a lot of you have already done these things, so we're so grateful for that. The first is, if you can go on social media and review us, share stories, like us. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on GuideStar, we're on Great Nonprofits. People look at those things and people trust reviews from the community. So if you feel good about the work that West Valley Community Services is doing, I would be so grateful if you would consider going online and providing that information on one of those social media sites. Please, we can continue to use donations to support the needs of our clients. You can also donate on Facebook in honor of your birthday, your anniversary, Father's Day, Mother's Day. Any of those things are great ways to engage people in supporting the needs of our clients here. We talked about a food drive already, which we absolutely can take food, groceries, canned goods, cereals, peanut butter, soups, pasta sauces, any of those kind of things, tuna fish, would be most appreciated. And then you can subscribe to our mailing list, which I imagine most of you are probably on already, since you're here today. But if you're not on our mailing list and you want to join, please feel free, send an email to development@wvcommunityservices.org, or you can join on our website, wvcommunityservices.org. And then when this is over, whenever this is over, and we begin to figure out how to move forward, we're looking to see all of you back here. We're looking to have all of our volunteers back, and we're happy to have you come for a site visit and show you all the work that's made possible thanks to the community's generosity and support. So I think we have a few more questions. Let me just turn off the share. So again, as a reminder, if you're not sure how to ask questions, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Some of you are using the chat function, that's fine too. We're monitoring both of them. So let me see, we had a couple other questions come in. So there was a question related to farmers who are, and food producers who are dumping produce and dairy products. Are unable to sell them. I think we all probably know that our food delivery system is breaking down and distribution system is breaking down, and that some of the places that those producers would sell to, so colleges, restaurants, are no longer buying or haven't been buying. That is a problem. We're further down the supply chain and we don't have a lot of contact with those folks. So second, if you have questions about what that looks like, Second Harvest of Silicon Valley is the best place to go for questions. We receive food several steps away from the growers, but we are equally concerned about what's going to happen as it relates to the food supply. We've been watching very closely what's happening with the meat supply, with Tyson and Smithfield, and figuring out how is that going to impact our clients. And at this point, we don't know. Every day when we have our huddle, we try to identify what next. What do we need to know now? And so we're just keeping an eye on it and figuring out, should that happen, how do we supplement those proteins with other types of proteins for our clients? So beans, nuts, those kind of things, whatever we can get our hands on, essentially. We had a question about volunteers for home delivery. At this time, given the demand that we have sufficient number of volunteers for home delivery, but that may change, as I mentioned, as the shelter in place is slowly lifted, as per Gavin Newsom's announcement yesterday. I can't anticipate that there might be a time that we do need volunteers. So we're asking people if they're interested in the future. We're keeping a list of names to be able to call on. And you can reach out to Bobby Bornstein, our director of, our manager of volunteer services, at volunteer at wvcommunityservices.org. There was a question about the recording being posted online. It will be on YouTube, and we can certainly send out that link. So there was a question about income qualifications for new clients. So folks who come in for clients to become a client have an annual income of roughly 250% or less of the federal poverty line. So those are, you know, people who would be identified as extremely low, very low, and low as compared to area median income. So when a client comes in, and I'm going to pull that up just so that I can provide you, and I can do a screen share on our website, we have a whole list of paperwork that our clients need to fill out when they come in. And let me see. I will share that with you. So you can see here, there's a whole list here of items that a client needs to bring in when they are coming in to ask for assistance. So these are clients who are currently housed. This is their list of items. And then for our homeless clients, we refer to them as Haven to Home clients. There's a separate set of items. So all of these items are dropped off at our door, sometimes with the mail slot. They're also scanned, or clients are using their cell phones to take photos to email them to the case managers. Case managers need to then review all this paperwork. When they're verifying people for eligibility, we have to call landlords to verify rent amounts. So there's an enormous amount of due diligence that is done as it relates to serving clients with rental assistance and to become a new client. So all these things are still in effect as it relates to signing up a new client to receive services from West Valley Community Services. Let me see, we had a few more questions. So there was a question about toilet paper or cleaning supply donations. Yes, absolutely. We've been able to get a little bit of that through our partnership with the town kitchen, but we don't often receive toilet paper and cleaning supplies from other sources, and they're also hard to buy right now. Even when we can get them, we've been able to buy a little bit as well. But if people are able to donate that, we would also be most grateful. Do we have, let me see if we have any other questions that have come in. So there's a question about if our service area has changed. No, our service area remains to be the 7 zip codes of the West Valley. So that has not changed. We are providing some help to our sister agencies if they have an overflow of clients and need additional support. We've provided some assistance there as well. Some of you also may be aware of, and I didn't talk about this at all, but maybe you saw me on television a couple weeks ago related to the Silicon Valley Strong fundraising. That's part of an effort that was done with Destination Home, a countywide fund to provide rental assistance. They have raised some $25 million in total. That money is being distributed through partner agencies like West Valley Community Services. So folks had a central place they'd go, which was the Sacred Heart Community Service website, where they would sign up there. And then all the clients who lived in our service area were transferred to us. And then our staff went through the process of vetting their applications and providing the financial assistance to them. So I'm really proud of this really coordinated, integrated system that our county has to serve those most in need. And we're working really closely with agencies throughout the county to make sure that people don't fall through the cracks in the midst of this epidemic. I don't see any additional questions. And I know we're reaching the end of our time together. So, oh, there's a couple more. So let me answer one more question as we have here. So how are people finding out about our services? So one of the ways is related to what I just said, is we're very well integrated into the communities. So all of the cities and towns in the West Valley are close partners. Cupertino, Los Gatos, Saratoga have placed our information on their COVID-19 response. The chambers have sent out information to all of their members about our services. We've posted heavily in social media. We work closely with the sheriff, and so the sheriff's team knows to send us here, to send folks here. And then certainly we work close with our partners at West Valley College and De Anza College to make sure that they know that we're here. It's about that network. It's about those relationships that we've nurtured with the community to make sure that people can find out where they go for help. And we've done a lot of work over the last 4 years to tighten that network and to tighten our partnerships and to grow them just for moments like this. So I feel that we were very well situated to respond and make sure people knew where to come for help. With that, I guess the question is, where do we go from here? What happens next? And I think for now, it's business as it's become usual here. We're still delivering our 2 core services, food and rental assistance, and we'll take cues from the county as it relates to the next steps. It is unlikely that we will go from one day as it stands now to fully open as we were before. And we'll be working with our staff and board to develop a plan to return to service as usual. And it may be a while before that's even possible. We don't want to place any of our staff, volunteers, or clients at additional risk. And that's so important to us. Compassion is one of our core values, and it's a guide star for us during this difficult time. And we want to make sure we're thoughtful and smart, and we follow the evidence and best practices in how we get back to full business. It might mean that we are using technology more heavily for more services in the medium term. It's hard because not all of our clients have access to technology, and that makes it challenging. We will not be holding our Chefs of Compassion event in September. We've rescheduled it for early 2021, and we're hopeful that we can do it then, but we don't know if that's even a possibility. And we're looking at how we can do our back to school program differently. Maybe taking a cue from our senior food delivery program. We have volunteers drop off backpacks and gift cards and notes on clients' doorsteps. And that might be one way we have to go. We feel strongly we need to do the program, that our clients will need that service. They'll need those clothes for their kids now more than ever because they don't have the money to buy them. And we know from our community, our compassionate community, that we have folks who want to be there to help them as well. It just might be different. And I think we could expect that most of our programs for the rest of the year and maybe even into 2021 will feel and look different. Our hope is that you all continue to stand in lockstep with us to make sure that our most vulnerable residents, our most vulnerable neighbors, have the support that they need at this most difficult of times. None of this, none of what I talked about today would be even possible without all of you. And to say that I am deeply moved by the compassion of the community would be an understatement. There is no way that we could do this work without all of you. So please know that I am most grateful to be able to work and live in a community of some of the most amazing, compassionate, and caring people that I have ever had the benefit of knowing. Our staff and board are so grateful to all of you. So thank you for everything that you have done to touch people that have been so deeply impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. As I mentioned, shortly after today's webinar, you'll be receiving a survey. Please take a few minutes to fill it out and share your feedback. We may have an opportunity to come back to you again in the future with more updates. and we want to be able to answer your questions. So please let us know how we're doing and what other questions and thoughts you have, and we'll respond to them. And of course, if you have other things you want to share, feel free to reach out to Kohenor at development@wvcommunityservices.org, and we'll send out a link to you all later this week with this video, this webinar on our YouTube page. In the meantime, thank you all so much for spending today with us. We are so grateful, and I want to wish you all and your families continued good health. Please, please stay safe. I look forward to seeing you in person so I can thank you in person when all this is over. Have a great day and be well. Thank you.